Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox, and I'd like to welcome you to the Daily Compliance News. The Daily Compliance News is an offering of the Compliance Podcast Network. September 26, 2019, the Suicide or Other edition. First up, from the Wall Street Journal, Comscore and its former chief executive settled charges with the Securities and Exchange Commission, where they claimed there was inflated analytics on the company's revenues of about $50 million over a 2-year period. The SEC said Comscore overstated revenue through entering into non-monetary deals, and the company's former CEO, Serge Mata, made false and misleading disclosures. Comscore will pay a $5 million settlement, and Mata will pay $700,000. Mata will pay back Comscore $2.1 million clawback. The company neither admitted nor denied the charges against it. Next up, from the New York Times, a senior manager at Fiat Chrysler has been criminally charged with conspiring to rig diesel emission tests on the automaker's vehicles. Federal prosecutors are charging Emmanuel Palma, our manager for diesel drivability and emissions, with wire fraud and violations of the Clean Air Act, among other crimes. From 2011 to 2017, Mr. Palma and unnamed co-conspirators misled regulators and the public by purposefully calibrating emissions control systems so the cars would produce lower emissions on regulatory tests, according to the indictment. Or I should say it's alleged. Fiat said they will cooperate with authorities, and Mr. Palma did not respond to requests for comment. Next up, from Matt Kelly over at Radical Compliance, the U.S. Senate, a bipartisan group of senators, has introduced legislation to undo the damage of the Digital Realty Trust decision, which came from the U.S. Supreme Court in 2018. In this decision, the court said that employee whistleblowers must first report their allegations to the SEC if they want to claim whistleblower protection under Dodd-Frank. This legislation follows legislation that was been introduced in the House of Representatives. Of course, with our do-nothing Congress, we can only hope that they will actually do something. The problems associated with digital realty, or rather the problems caused by digital realty, required a person not to report internally, as companies would like whistleblowers to do, but actually go to the government regulators. This has a couple of negative effects for corporations. First, it deprives a corporation of information about a proposed or a potential legal violation. Second, it allows the conduct to continue while the government knows about it and maybe institute a remediation. So lots of problems created by digital realty trusts, and hopefully this will begin to fix them. And finally, our title story comes from the Financial Times. Was it suicide or something else? As the body of Danske Bank's former Estonian chief was found. The Danske Bank executive at the heart of a 200 billion euro money laundering scandal has been found dead in his apartment in an apparent suicide. I say apparent because there's been no cause of death released as yet. What's somewhat stunning in this FT article is the person involved has not been seen for a couple of days, and this is Oliver Ray, and for some reason the police didn't think to go to his house, which was where his body was found. So great police work there to find this body. Apparently there was some concern that he would actually commit suicide, but that wasn't enough to put him on a suicide watch or take any other steps. So I can't say I'm surprised that there's a death involved, whether it was a suicide or whether it was something else. Will have to be something that the authorities can let us know at a later date. I hope you'll check out my latest addition to the Compliance Podcast Network, The Walden Pod with Vincent Walden. It's a great new podcast. Check it out on the Compliance Podcast Network.